listed companies announced plans for a 2022 dividend payment. Analysts say they expect the outcome from the ongoing Monetary Policy Committee meeting, which began today, to have some level of pressure on the Nigerian equities market performance this week. Ope Oluwa, Research Analyst at Cordros, joins me for this discussion. Ope, thank you for taking the time out to join us today.
Thank you for having me, Esther.
Well, for this week, I guess the big market highlight for this week will be the MPC meeting. Members have converged today. We're going to have the outcome tomorrow. But what are your thoughts on what will be discussed at the meeting and what the market would be keeping an eye on?
Yeah, thank you very much. Firstly, we think that the Monetary Policy Committee would most likely look at the factors that they typically consider, and from the point of the last meeting in January to this point. Right. So we talk about things like GDP growth, growth numbers for Nigeria. We've seen Q4 numbers from 2022 show where the current pace of growth is currently at. They'll also consider what inflation in the general market is currently saying. And last week we saw inflation numbers come out at around 21%, increasing by 10 bips from the previous level. We'll see some consideration also for what is going on amongst in the global side of things, basically amongst the global central banks. What are their plans for rates, basically? Right, with specific focus on key economies like the US economy, that of UK also, and also the Euro area generally. So these are the factors that we think that the Monetary Policy Committee would basically consider. And in a situation where we have whatever decision the Monetary Policy Committee basically comes up with, the effect on fixed income markets will most likely determine how investors in the equities markets will react. So if we go back, if we're in a situation where the pass-through mechanism of monetary policy rates to fixed income rates is highly effective, and we see fixed income rates rather move in tandem with the decision from this meeting. We might be in a situation where we see portfolio, we see investors generally basically shift their portfolios from equities to fixed income. So it's quite an interesting one to watch for.
Well, speaking of perhaps something else to watch, just looking at the NGX banking return year to date so far, up just over 3.7% year to date. What kind of statements or comments are you expecting from the MPC today concerning the strength of the financial sector, of course, the banks, liquidity ratios, etc.? I'm saying this, in the context of what we're seeing happening with Credit Suisse and that fears of contagion, that merger with UBS, etc. Just to give market, just to send a signal that all is well within the Nigerian financial system.
Well, I think it's pertinent to note that in these other regions there are underlying issues that caused the weakness in the banking system of those places. Basically, the Nigerian market has been, it's pretty much been a strong banking system, basically, with the CBN maintaining a strong hand on banks. And we think that Nigerian banks are still very strong, very healthy, balance sheets very nice, and they're also one of the favored names for investors in the NGX market, in the Nigerian exchange. So for banking sector, our view is that everything is fine.
Right. What is your forecast for trading this week? What's excuse me? What's the play for, in your opinion, for investors? What are they looking out for? Are they going to stick to those dividend-paying stocks? Are they going to be bargain hunting for stocks with a good re-entry points, etc.?
Yeah, coming off of the kind of beating that the market took last week, you might it's expedient that you see some investors make re-entry into certain names on the NGX, names that they believe or perceive have very attractive entry points. However, we expect sort of cautious trading from investors pending the decision of the MPC tomorrow, and also, looking at the outlook of, or rather the outcome of the bond auction that's holding today. So, we think that, in the first half of the week, investors will basically weigh the outcomes of, this, the bond auction of, and also the, MPC's decision. Towards the end of the week, we might now see investors start to show their hands, depending on how, or depending on whichever way the pendulum swings on, the two meetings that, or rather the auction and the MPC meeting for Monday and Tuesday.
All right. Right. One last question. What are your top stocks for the week and why?
Well, we typically tend to, recommend, fundamentally justified stocks that are very, great dividend payers. At this point, we like, the tier one banking names. We like, across the consumer goods sector, we like, the food producers. We like the telco names, specifically, MTN. I could also like, the agri names, given that, fundamentals for these companies at this point, are quite very attractive, and we can, from this point, justify entry into this name.
I wanted to ask you about Unilever before I let you go. Hopefully, not sure have just a okay. My director tells me I have 0 time left. But thank you so much, Ope, for talking to us today. Perhaps another time. Ope Oluwa, research analyst at Cordros.